All right. Welcome, everyone. I am Mark Scott. You are watching the PhxDev show. And I got my nifty new intro going.
That music on that makes me, it sounds like a late night show. It's like,
I know.
it's the PhxDev show with your host, Mark Scott.
Chuck gets where I'm going with this. I love it. Chuck gets the joke. This is great. Yeah, no, I think it's funny. It should be a late night show. That's what I'm kind of trying to model everything off of. It should be, it's a chat show. We talk about all the things that we want to talk about. But so before we started the stream, right, you and I were talking about replacing light bulbs and potentially having an odd number when you need an even number of things. And I was going to tell you the story. My wife and I had the same car. We had a PT Cruiser. We didn't buy. Oddly enough, did not buy them. We were dating at the time, and we just happened to both have the same car.
Okay.
And so I always shared parts back and forth between the two. And so when I would buy a blinker, right, they come in packs of two.
They always come in packs of two. And how many do you need?
You only need one. I would buy two of these things, and I would replace mine and my wife's at the exact same time. And by the time that car died, we were in complete sync. It was awesome. I'd do the oil at the same time, the brakes at the same time. I did the blinkers at the same time. It was great. Oh man,
you might as well, if you're in for a penny, if you're doing the oil, you might as well do it twice. You got all the tools out. You got
yeah. And you want to know all the maintenance, all the doubled up on everything. And mine threw a rod on the freeway and died. just randomly threw a rod and they don't recover from that.
I don't know when the last time I did car maintenance myself was. It's been a long time because cars have gotten a lot more complex since I was a kid.
Yeah. Those plastic pieces. My van, I had to fix my van. I couldn't get the hose clamp off. You needed a special tool to get a hose clamp off.
What happened to good old screwdriver version of hose clamps like I got on my pool pump?
Nope. It's this weird squeezy deal.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And everyone's like, oh, you can use needle nose pliers to get those off. I'm like, when you're angry and you want to just get this thing done, there is no, I'm sorry. I spent the $20. I got the weird tool. I took it off and I put screwdriver ones back on. I'm like, nope, not going to deal with it. So yeah, a little insight into my car maintenance abilities there. I'm like, no, I'm going to convert it back to old school. That's the way I like to roll. Chuck.
Hi.
Glad to have you on. Resumes. We were talking about resumes last week, and you left.
You kind of did. You meandered all over the place and wound up going in crazy places.
Yeah. That's unfortunately the show, right? We just we don't have a purpose. We just kind of do what we want. And I say we, it's just myself. So we were talking about resumes. You left a comment on my YouTube channel, which got a lot of attention. By the way.
It was not my intent.
Yeah. Well, it was funny. It was just said
we should talk.
We need to talk, and a smiley face. And man, I played that up. That was so much fun.
That was fun.
Yeah. But I wanted to get you had some hot takes that you wanted to do on resumes, and I wanted to have you on. I wanted to get your opinions because I like resumes. I think resumes is an interesting topic that nobody seems to be really, it's boring, but it's interesting to me. So
let's talk. There are so many opinions out there. Mm-hmm. And frankly, to be blunt, there are so many that are crap.
Oh yeah. No, last week there are no wrong answers, but there are some wrong answers. Like I
just really pulled up Word and it said, oh, there's the word resume in here. It looks like a resume, or somehow it recognized it. And this side panel comes out and goes, hey, there's some tips at LinkedIn. And I went, NFW, man. It's like, get that out of there. I don't need that. So I am a bit religious when it comes to resumes and format. You're going to find that out. And I have asked this man, Mr. Mark Scott, to join me on an upcoming episode of Breakpoint that we do for ServiceNow to talk about this very topic. So I'm not going to give away all the secret sauce here, but the things you hit on that I liked, and I was waiting for it. Is accomplishments.
Yeah.
Please, for the love of God, don't think that your responsibilities will get you in the door. If it says, generated the quarterly report for our team. Okay, that's a responsibility.
Yeah.
For all I know, you may have gotten fired for that because you didn't do it
Right.
well. You know,
Right.
that
Yeah.
that was and if you don't tell me what you did and how well you did it,
Mhm.
I'm gonna assume the worst and just pitch your resume. So
Yeah.
it comes down to, having verbs usually at the beginning, like
Right.
deployed, purchase order software on time and on budget.
Right.
You don't have to have the physical numbers of how much time or hours you saved.
Mhm.
That helps. That
Oh,
certainly makes a bigger
absolutely.
impact,
Mhm.
but you wanna have actual actions in there of how well you did something. So when somebody reads this, they go, "Wow, this person deployed some software on time and on budget." The other thing I'm gonna tell you is please don't list your skills. Now, you had the right
Mhm.
you had the right message when you said 1 page, 1
Right.
page, 1
Right.
page, 1 page. Okay. I've been doing this. I've been in my career for over 40 years. If
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
can get it to 1 page,
Anyone
I'm
can.
pretty sure
Anyone
anyone
can.
can.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
And, the stuff I did in 1993 on Apollo Domain OS, it doesn't help my resume anymore, okay? It's not a skill, nobody cares. Nobody's deploying Apollo token ring anymore. It's like,
Token ring.
it
Wow.
ain't a thing, okay? So, you keep it recent
Mhm.
to a few of the recent
Relevant. Yeah. Mhm.
career, the roles or positions you've had. If it's in the same company, you show that you're growing and you're doing different things. Uh so there were some very good things in there, but the skills are just a waste of paper. If you're trying to get this to 1 page, you want every square millimeter on that
Mhm.
page to count for something.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, how are they gonna know I'm good at ServiceNow? Like, because it's going to say it in the accomplishments.
'Cause of the things you did. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, these things are parsed, I haven't read a paper resume in decades, let's be honest. They get imported, you can see it in PDF if you wanna see the original copy, and
Mhm.
then you see, like, a generated, parsed up format. The
Yeah.
the the places you upload these to are really good at that, and it's going to list out those things for you, and if you have to, you take your browser and you do a command F, or control F, you go,
Yeah.
"Find me the word ITSM or
Mhm.
ITIL," or
Mhm.
whatever it is. So, it's in there, so use your words very carefully, and those accomplishments here's another one, those accomplishments, 1 line. Do not let that
Right.
line wrap. If
Yeah.
you can't say it in 1 line, you can't say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a whole bunch of little things in there
Absolutely.
that, we'll dive in deeper on the Breakpoint podcast, not to give
Yeah.
a teaser. So, you had a lot of these nailed down, but I
Yeah.
just wanted to say, hey, there's a couple things I'm very passionate about that, and that's why I said
Yeah.
we should talk.
No, absolutely, and that's the thing, like, it's we're this weird network of, like, information people, right? So, you're like, "We should talk." I'm like, "No one n there's no way that Chuck," who, by the way, we work at the same company and our colleagues and can comment on each other's stuff regardless of what the public sees, are going to post something negative like that on one like, "We should talk." Like, "No, no, no, that's not gonna happen." Chuck's gonna reach out on me on Teams and be like, "Take
That's
that
like,
down."
yeah, sadly, my mother-in-law passed away a couple months ago, and my daughter, who's living in our guest house, casita slash in-law house, whatever you wanna call it these days, it's, my my wife needed to get her attention. She sent this message like, "Do you have a few minutes to come over and talk?"
No.
Or it was something like that, "There's something we need to discuss."
Oh god.
You know
It's even worse. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, so she recently, like this past week, she did the same thing to come and look at pictures to
Right,
hang on the wall.
right.
My wife needed some decisions like, should we put this picture up and where should we put that one? That kind of thing. And she wrote pretty much the same words.
Mhm.
And my daughter just about goes into a panic. She's like, "Do you have a few minutes to come over?" Like, it's like,
Maybe I
"No,
mean,
please,
maybe
please put in the message to hang pictures," or
nothing bad, nothing bad. I don't know, maybe it's a
right.
generational thing, but that, like, instantly gives me anxiety where it's like, someone's like, "We need to
Of
talk,"
course.
or come, like, "I need help." Like, even though that sounds like an emergent problem, like, that one is better to me than, "We need to talk," like that. I don't know why, like, it doesn't make any sense, but yeah, yeah, it's
How you phrase things is very important
I
because
was
communication is really on the receiver side.
mhm,
Doesn't matter what I intended. It's how Mark received that message that really
Exactly.
counts.
And I was crafting an email the other day, which by the way is a skill in itself that we could have a whole episode on.
Oh god, yes, even meeting invites.
Oh yeah.
I agonize over those for a few minutes just to make sure that, especially as you go up the food chain in the organization,
Mhm.
really important that you have an objective in a
I,
meeting invite.
I have a 2-minute timer. I have a 2-minute, it delays my email sending for 2 minutes
Oh,
because
really? Okay.
oh yeah. Yeah, because I freak out and I go, okay, I gotta read it again. Right. And then I go read it again after I've sent it. Why would you do that? Like, why
Oh,
would
just
you
leave
do
it.
that?
Yeah, leave it in drafts too. That's
I
another way to do it. It's like, I'm gonna draft it tonight, I'm gonna send it tomorrow, but I'm gonna reread it between now and then.
Yeah. The thing is, even that, like, I'll reread it even as many times as I think I need. Yeah, and then at the end, I push send, and then for torture, for just sheer torture, I read it one more time. Like, why? Once I've sent it, do I read it again? I don't know, but I do. So that's why I have that. But I was crafting an email the other day, and I literally switched 2 words around. I couldn't remember what it was for the
Yep.
life of me, but I switched 2 words around, and it completely changed the tone of the sentence that I was saying. I'm like, that's insane. Like, that to me, I went, oh man, I'm a native English speaker, right? I realized this, and I split. It didn't change the meaning of the sentence. It just made it sound a little softer. And I'm like, oh, this is not like, this isn't cool. Like, English sucks. I hate English. Like, if we could just spit binary at each other, that would be so much
Yeah,
easier.
it's got to be the worst language. It's just
Mhm.
so because it's like a mutt of other languages. It just it has you get so many different root words
Mhm.
and mixed up grammars and silent letters that it's
Well,
terrible.
and
It's terrible.
inflections on
Yeah.
words that change the meaning. It's like, oh no, no, no. Like, we, as English speakers, I don't think we think other languages have that. I'm like, no, no, no. We're the king of like inflection, like read, and read. It's like, oh
Yeah.
man, like that, or read, and read. Like, I just can't stand it. Anyway, you're getting me off topic, and this is a topic that I can rant about because I hate English. I think stupid humans, like, we're terrible about communication. But what I did want to get into, which was slightly different from our breakpoint episode, was to talk about interviews, right?
Sure.
And so I've been using and it's been a lot of fun. And if the so first of all, so we did talk about resumes. Dang it, I had a slide for it. So interviews, right? What do you wear? What do in this day and age? I think there's a couple of rules that I would say are paramount when you're interviewing Zoom wise, right?
Mhm.
First of all, show up early. Like, just do it. It's the same thing with in-person interviews. Show up early, because there's just, you don't know, like, your camera, like, I don't know how many times the driver on my camera just decides to stop working for no reason. Like, it's just
Yeah.
temperamental, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, this isn't going to work, right? And if you're for second rule, it's, if you're in a Zoom interview, you have to have your camera on. There's no option. I hate it.
Oh,
Like,
I can't even fathom trying to interview somebody who doesn't have their camera on. I
I
would
know
go,
it doesn't
"You're
sound
done."
like we need to say it, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it anyway. Like, you have to have your camera on, and that means a few things, right? Show up early so that you work through all the technical issues with a mic, a camera, your laptop, anything. Windows updates love to hit at the moment that you don't want them, right? You've got to you got to show up early.
Yeah.
I don't care if that's an interview, a client meeting, anything. 5 minutes. Give yourself 5 minutes. Now, culturally, that's U.S., right? I understand culturally that doesn't translate across everywhere. So, culturally appropriate to where you are, but if you're in Zoom in the U.S., 5 minutes early, please, 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 5 minutes early. Um.
I would even say test all that stuff
Oh yeah.
before that, well before that 5 minutes, like the night before, the morning of,
Hmm.
test it a
Hmm.
couple of times, like you said, patches and, you know, turn off all those alarms,
Hmm.
everything,
Hmm.
shut down every other program except Zoom or
Everything.
WebEx or
Yes.
whatever you're using,
Hmm.
silence your other devices,
Hmm.
mobile, whatever. It's you need to be laser focused
Laser
on that
focus.
interview.
Yep. Yeah, and anything that's going to pull you out. I mean, you can tell, right? Anyone that shifts their attention slightly while you're trying to talk, it's very, very difficult to stay on track, right? Like, you get that pop up and you turn and look at it, and it's your whole train of thought is gone. You're either
Yep.
not listening to the person
Yep.
that is talking to you, or you're not listening to the words that are coming out of your mouth, which is probably twice as scary. So it's a skill, right? It's a skill to be able to
Yeah.
see multiple things and talk at the same time. You just can't continue to do that. So, you've really got to try as hard as you can to be in the moment and, like you say, be laser focused. So this is a question that I would have today, right? What would you wear to an interview today, right? Would you wear a tie? Would you get dressed up? Like, can you wear a t-shirt to a job interview? I guess
No.
is the question. I'm
No, not a t-shirt. Not a t-shirt. Even
Yeah.
if you're working for a t-shirt factory, you're not wearing a t-shirt to your interview.
Right.
So dress professionally, not
Right.
professional casual, professionally.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That means if you are going into somebody's office
Mm-hmm.
to do a face-to-face interview, which are coming back,
Yes.
don't be fooled. We're not doing the rest of the world's interviews on Zoom.
Yep.
But if you're going into that building, gentlemen, you're wearing a tie.
Yeah.
And a coat and a
Yeah.
matching trouser. You're basically wearing a suit. You're
Yeah.
showing up saying, I'm serious about this. And even if it's casual Friday and they say, don't bother, dressing up, you dress up.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
no debating that. I'm not going to go into the women's fashion. You know what professional means. I am like the worst authority on trying to, I've been married for 33 years. I know not to comment on women's fashion by this point.
I'm same, not going to go there. But I would say, first of all, if it's your first job, don't go buy a suit for this, right? Like you don't need to go and buy a suit. Like if you don't have a suit and you've got a tie and a press
You can,
shirt,
yeah,
you
you
can
can,
get away
you
with
know
it.
what? You could go to Goodwill and get a
Yes.
off the rack jacket, just
Mhm.
a blazer that goes with the slacks you're wearing. So blue blazer, tan slacks,
Yeah.
or black slacks and gray blazer. So,
It's
just use
that old
your
school fashion advice of how do I match that, shoes and belt need to be the same. Like it's that old school, and go look it up. If you've never looked up the classical, like how to tie a tie, right? Your tie touches the tip of your tie should touch the top of your belt buckle. I can't stand I can't stand it when I see people that have their tie.
Oh, you mean like former President Trump, who was halfway down to his knees? That was a long ass tie. I'm sorry, but
it started like way up and it went all, I'm like, where is this tie going? Like, where does it
it
end
had
up?
a zip code of its own.
If you're going to the men's restroom and you accidentally zip your tie, there's a problem. Like you shouldn't be able to do that. Okay. It needs to touch. Like the triangle end should touch the top of your belt buckle. I sound like an old guy. Like I sound like an old man, like my dad, like, oh, you got to do that. Like that's what it is. And I know that's stodgy and I know that's a little outdated for what it is, but here's the thing. If you are one level dressed above who's giving you an interview, right?
You win.
You win. You're already, and I will tell you the story because I almost got in trouble for it. But so every day I was a consultant. Every day we didn't wear ties. It was business casual. It was polos, right? And so I said, well, I want to move up in this company, right? Like I wore a suit and a tie every day. Every day. And everyone laughed at me and asked me where my interview was. And everybody said it was funny. And I did it for a whole year. And you know what? I became a senior in that year. So I don't know, like there's something to be said, but it's important. It's important to dress a little bit above where you're at. Now,
Heck yeah.
I wore a suit and tie. It was matching. It was I could walk into a client meeting and it was not loud, right? I would say it wasn't like I was out of place, right? I tried to dress business, not casual, but businessy if I could.
And you don't have to wear the jacket,
No.
all 8 hours of the day.
No,
You hang it on the back of your chair, on the back of your cubicle or whatever. And then if you're meeting with a customer, you bring the jacket.
Yeah.
If you're going to, meeting with some superiors, you wear the jacket. Okay. If you're meeting with your staff or your team, you leave the jacket behind. There's just certain, you go, do I need it or do I not?
It's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it, right? So that's
true for a lot of things in life, isn't it?
I know, it's one of my favorite. It's imperative to be a little bit more more dressed, formally than what the person is. One level formally, right? Like now, I wore a suit and tie, and someone thought it was funny that they were going to wear a tuxedo, which all right, that's fine. And they showed up, and for some reason, like they were, I don't, it was just out there, right? And
That's a bit over the top,
it was a
because a
little over the
tuxedo
top,
is for special occasions.
and they got in a lot of trouble, right? They got in a lot of trouble, like,
As I
and
can
so it's I don't know, like, I guess for me, it's that good disobedience, right? Where I'm like, no, I went and actually like bought 3 suits. Like, there's a
Mhm,
purpose to this, right?
mhm.
And I don't wear a suit, and like I would take the suit jacket off if I was in a sales meeting, right? Like the salesperson's in charge, right? So I didn't try to get all fancy and like outshow them. They were in charge, and I let them do that. So I mean, try to. It's situational. It's situational. It's definitely situational. Where do
Yep.
where do you toe the line? Um, from that end, right? Zoom, wear something nice, clean the background, clean it up. Like, I mean, come on, folks. Like, I don't
If
know
your
how
laundry is on the bed in the background, you have a problem.
the webcam on your Zoom on your laptop, it's there for appearances. Okay, like it's don't use that webcam. Like, go invest a little bit, and put it on a monitor, because that's the other thing, right? Is you're not looking at the person when the webcam's kind of off. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
where are they kind of looking, right? It's clean the background, know where you're framing, know what you're framing, right? Understand you are the person, you're the subject. You need to be big, you need to be in front, and you need to be visible. And it's huge for Zoom. I mean, that's absolutely huge for Zoom, because if you're sitting there and typing, and it's the laptop is waving, like, you can see that on the other end, and
Oh, you mean
on
like
top.
resting it on your lap so you're looking up the person's nose? Yeah, that's nice.
Not even that, like, even sometimes those
Oh,
laptops
you
when
mean a
they're
shaky
typing.
table kind of thing.
And that
Yeah.
the laptop lid kind of moves as they're talking and they're typing and and it's like, oh man, it's so distracting
First of
from.
all, why are you typing during an interview?
First of all, I mean, I guess if you're trying to take some notes, right?
No,
Like,
no, no, you take notes. Take notes on a
paper.
tablet, on paper,
Yeah.
something else, because if you are typing and the thing goes shaky all over the place,
Mhm.
they don't know what you're typing. You could be chatting with someone on Slack. They
Mhm.
don't know,
Mhm.
so they're going to assume the worst.
Yeah. I actually, we'll probably, again, another episode idea. Consulting is a skill set, right? I did it once. I did it once where I brought my laptop into a consulting meeting and I was taking notes, and oh man, Chuck. Oh,
Mm-mm,
it was,
mm-mm.
it was a
You know what
CEO.
my new best friend is? My new best friend is my remarkable tablet.
I've been looking at those. Do you have, what's your
I am
experience with them? Do you like them?
I love this thing.
Hmm.
The most challenging part is just how do I organize my notes? Because you can do folders and folders within folders, and
Mhm.
but in terms of just flat out writing notes,
Mhm.
the cognitive skill
Right.
makes it cement in my head more than if
Mhm.
I were to type it into Evernote or
Oh
OneNote or
yeah, yeah,
something.
yeah. And
And it's been really good.
I feel like I retain, to your point, right? If I write it, I retain it. That's
Yep.
100%, like, totally agreed. It's old school and I hate it. It's the only thing that I'm still analog on, and I can't stay, like, I can't teach my brain to remember things in digital. I use Rocketbook. You ever heard of them?
I
Um
have. Yep.
I actually use a product that I think they're discontinuing, but it's the note cards.
Mhm.
I don't write in notebooks. I don't like writing in big notebooks. I like writing small, concise, like, little things, right? Rocketbook has these note cards, and you can just scan them in. It's my favorite. It's been my favorite. Like, I've got a little, I 3D printed myself a little note card holder, and
Yeah.
that's it.
And see, that's inconspicuous, and when you're writing with a pen or a stylus in a meeting, it's clear you're not checking Facebook. If you bring your
Right.
laptop in, the assumptions are made
Nobody
right there.
knows. Yeah. Yep. It I and
The only reason you should be bringing a laptop is if you're giving a demo, you know?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, first of all, don't bring your laptop to a meeting. Like, if you're going on site, you don't need your laptop. You're not going to show anything in a PDF. Like, maybe, I mean, if you're doing a demo, you've got some cojones. Like, that's quite a, like, if you're going to pop open a laptop and show a big presentation during your interview on site, I've
And that
never
may be
heard of
part of the
anyone doing
interview, that may
it. It
be
might
part
be.
of the interview, but,
It might be.
in which case you go, "Hold on, let me do a screen share. We're on Zoom. Give me a sec."
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, and have it up, right? If you think they're going to ask questions about your PDI or something,
Yeah.
GitHub, whatever it is, because we were talking about this yesterday
Yeah.
or last stream, right? You better have it up, like have it there and ready to go, because just like me last week with my like trying to show the resume back and forth, and it didn't work. It's like you got to be prepared. And by the way, I am. See, look, I've got my resume right here.
You
So
know
you
what?
gotta be
I do
prepared.
too.
Do you really?
I figured we were gonna be talking about that, so I had mine at the ready as well.
That's awesome.
Let me do a quick screen share
Do
on
it.
that one.
Do it.
What screen are we on? 3. All right.
And
Show
then
that for a
yeah,
sec.
you got it. Look at that.
So, notice the lack of white space. Okay,
Mhm.
Mr. White Space. Oop,
Miss
I can stop that now. Stop share screen.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. Yep. Short, concise. It's easy. It's borderline text file, right?
it
That's what I
is.
like
It
about it.
is. You don't need a lot of beautiful formatting.
No.
It's
No.
just that adds no value to what your message is. Your message
Agreed.
is,
Yeah.
here is how you contact me, and here's what I've done for other companies that
Mhm.
will make me a rock star at your company as well. So
Yeah.
that's
Look,
what
and
you want to get.
let's go into mine just slightly because and this is an eye chart. The
Zoom
I
in.
yeah, yeah, I will. I just have to find the tab. Zoom. So it's I don't know. I found this template and I just started filling it out. And I think that's why, because I said it to ServiceNow. This is why like I got hired on. But to your point,
Wow, I'm amazed you got hired with that. I'm sorry.
what? No. So I want to talk about bad interview experiences. But yeah. So to your point, I've tried to reduce as much white space as possible. I know I use the margins a little bit.
Yeah,
And
all that stuff on the left,
total
get rid
waste.
of it. That
Yeah.
way your accomplishments won't wrap.
Right.
I'm not seeing any responsibilities though.
No, I don't have any called out responsibilities necessarily.
Okay, ditch the skills.
Yeah.
And look,
Yeah,
just
here,
by doing that, look how much more space you would have
yeah,
on
you
that one
pull
page.
this up. Yeah. I need to get a CSA. It's I need a CSA. I don't know why I
Why?
don't have a CSA.
Why?
I don't know, because I want to get the
What value would it give you in your career right now? I did the same thing. Like
yeah,
I have one and I renewed it after it had lapsed for a while.
right.
But at this point I'm going, that's, it's kind of like asking if you have a Bachelor of Science degree 25 years into your career. It doesn't matter. You have the experience that supersedes that. So,
Yeah. Here's where it is for me, Chuck, because I don't know if you've recently CMA CTA program is that's a requirement.
is it a current CSA or you just had to have had a CSA at some point?
I think it's current.
Okay.
Well, no, I don't know. I'll have to check. I'll have to talk to Shelly about that and figure that out.
So
But
you're going after the CTA CMA thing?
I don't know. I just don't want to count myself out.
All right. The CMA to me is kind of like uh, an MBA, the Masters of Business Administration. If you've gone to college and got your BA degree, your business administration degree, then a master's in business administration is like that 7-year journey you have to carve out of your life somewhere along the way to get that.
Mhm.
Back to interviews. What else did you have?
Okay, so Carlene says you have to have it currently. Okay, so what else did I have?
She would know. She's got a CMA.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, favorite interview questions. Do you do a lot of interviewing, Chuck?
We are currently in the process of interviewing for one of our positions right now. So,
How odd? How,
yeah, what timely? Um, so, as an interviewer, your best weapon is behavioral style questions.
oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tell me a time when you blank. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that blank ties directly back to one of the skills you're looking for on the job description.
Yeah.
Give me an example of. So when you hear things like that as an interviewee, you can give those examples. So the best weapon you have as an interviewee is to know your history frontwards and backwards. Okay. So that when questions like that come up, and sometimes you got to think for a minute, you go, hang on.
Yeah, take
You
your
know,
time. First of all, take time.
a
If
few
you need
minutes, a few
take time.
seconds of silence is not going to kill you.
Totally fine.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. You think it up and you give your response in 3 to 4 minutes, no more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Sometimes you don't have that experience. You go, you know what? I've never encountered that situation before, but let me tell you what I think about it if I did.
Yeah.
You know,
Here's
if
how I would get to there.
here's how I would, and then let's be open and honest that you don't have that specific
Yeah.
experience, and they'll probably ask you more questions. Like if I said, "Hey, Mark, um, give me a time when you had to create a live stream,
Right.
and 5 minutes before it was time to hit that broadcast button, things just fell apart." Okay. What did and you tell me, well, it just happened last week, as a
Right.
matter of fact. We
Right.
were
Yeah.
getting ready to go, and my son spilled something all over my laptop. Fortunately, I had a backup plan.
Yeah.
This is what we did. And I'm hearing, how did you get out of that situation? What did you do? What
Mm.
contingencies do you have? You've expressed yourself. And I may ask additional questions that go in deeper that
Right. The
say,
follow-ups. Mhm.
okay, so why was your son in the room in the first place? Or, it's starting to get deeper into not trying to figure out the root cause, but
Right. Right.
more about your experiences. Like, what software do you use for your streaming?
Right.
Because your resume doesn't have to say, I use StreamYard. It
Exactly.
simply says, started a new blah, 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 grew the audience by 50% in the first 6 weeks,
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
months. So you're telling me an accomplishment, and I see that on the resume, and I want to know more. Tell me more about your streaming experience. StreamYard, you like it? What do you that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what tells me I'm as an interviewer, sorry, I'm getting a little passionate again. I have to slow down. I'm trying to imagine you doing the job that I'm looking for.
Exactly.
How well can Mark fit this bill? So I've got to find out, does he have the experience I'm looking for? And your job as the interviewee is not only to fit that picture,
Mhm.
but help me understand how you're going to excel at that.
Right.
You know,
Right.
what
It's
what new things do you bring to the table? Because, backfilling an existing person is
That's
one
great.
thing, but if I'm opening up a brand new position and say, "Hey, Mark, we're looking for director of digital media,"
Right.
and you're like, "Sure. Okay. What's your strategy on growing the audience?" And tell me about a time when something, and Mark brings up all his great ideas. I'm like, okay, yeah, that aligns with where we're going. Or, as an interviewer, I hate to say it, but I'm always looking for a reason to say no.
Challenge. Yep. Mhm. Yeah.
I'm trying to make sure that the person I get is the right fit. And if you're not the right fit, I mean, not just this is the best of the 6 candidates we got. If we interviewed 6 candidates and we didn't get the right one, I'm not hiring the best one.
Right. Right.
That may not be a good fit. So,
Exactly.
there's always it's an uphill battle. And as an interviewer, excuse me,
Interviewee. Mhm.
interviewee, you want to put your best foot forward, but not leave the other one dragging behind.
Exactly. Yeah.
You've
It's
got to
it's
you got to really step into this and have that confidence in your experience to be able to say, "I can do this for you."
Right, and it's pushing I would say, right, you gotta keep in mind, it's like you had said, I'm filling this position, but maybe all your great ideas are great and it's pie in the sky, right? But we've got to put rubber meets the road right now, right? So there's that double-sided that there's the sword and the shield, right? Like, yeah, I've got all these great ideas. It's like, okay, great. What are you going to do to fix all of these problems that you may be inheriting too, right? You
Right.
have to do both. You have to play both sides. You have to be able in an interview to prove that you can handle all the stuff that, skeletons in the closet that you might be inheriting and aren't super fun and don't get like the attention that you necessarily want because it's, a shadow IT org or it's some issue that you've got to go address. And then what are you going to do that is really really cool, right? You need to have that kind of an idea of both sides, like how do I fix problems and what are the cool things that I want to be doing. It's super important. I mean, you really need to the thought process there has to be like you've really, I mean, you just got to keep trying. Joseph Lawden, who's been on the stream a few times, right? He's like, I interviewed like 6 7 8 times, get the feedback, come back with the feedback of what
Heck
did I
yeah.
do wrong, yeah,
Yeah.
and move on, right? Like move on if it's bad. And that moves me into some of like, have you ever had a bad interview experience, right? Like what have you ever interviewed someone that that did poorly. I mean, let's
Oh,
anonymize
as the interviewer?
as
I
the
thought you were asking me as an
interviewee.
interviewee, because
Either one.
as the interviewee, I could honestly say no. I've never
Okay.
had a bad interview experience. That's that's not to sound egotistical, but I
No.
just when the opportunities. Oh wait, I take that back. I did have one. I
Okay.
did have one, and it was based on my assumptions, which was
Oh.
terrible, terrible, terrible mistake to make. Do not assume. It was a ServiceNow to ServiceNow transition
Mhm.
that I was making when I was first coming into the marketing department,
Mhm.
and I assumed that my boss's boss knew who I was and what I did. He did not. So when he got on a phone screening with me, I was doing a phone conversation with everybody on the team that I was going to potentially meet. I
Mhm.
talked to Todd and I talked to Martin and I already knew the
Yeah,
hiring
the players.
guy who
Mhm.
a- and I talked to all the potential teammates and they're like, "Heck yeah, hire him today." And then I talked to on the Friday, the last person I talked to was the my manager's manager.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I got a call as soon as I hung up, I went, "That just did not
Didn't
feel
go.
right."
Mhm.
Did not feel right. There's and my job was to create content. Initially, I wasn't a developer advocate. I was making demos more than anything. It was still content, but it was
Right.
yeah, Carlene, who doesn't know Chuck?
Doesn't know Chuck.
So I get a call like 15 minutes after this from my manager, and he said,
Mhm.
"How did it go?" I said, I just don't think I hit it off with Kevin." He
Mhm.
says, "Why not?" I said, "He just I don't think he knows who I am." He says, "Here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna send him a few of your videos," because his comments to my manager were, "I just don't think Chuck knows how to I don't think he's gonna work out. I don't think he knows how to make content." Like, yeah, and this was like 2017, so, everything I've done is pretty well established by this
Sure.
point, right? I'm not the new kid on the block, like, it was 2010 when I first started. So, he said, "Here's what you're gonna do. Send them a link to this video, send them a link to that video, send them a link to that blog and your web page that has
Right,
your books and whatnot on it." And, get a call Monday. He goes, "Yeah, Kevin's on board." But we laughed for years after that.
Oh, I'm
You
sure.
know, when I'm cranking out, like, 2 live streams a week for work and
Mhm.
2 podcasts for fun and, Howard would occasionally jab me and he goes, "I
Mhm.
don't think Chuck knows how to make content." It's like, "That's all I've been doing."
Yeah.
So, yeah, don't make assumptions. Introduce yourself. There's a great story about, um, I can't remember her role. Was she the Secretary of State? Condoleezza Rice.
Mm. Mhm.
Remember
Uh,
her?
yeah, Secretary of State, I think, yeah.
Yeah, she would introduce herself to everyone she met, even though, she's a household name.
Right, right,
Everybody she goes, "Hi, I'm Condoleezza," and it doesn't matter if the person goes, "Yeah, I know."
right. Yeah,
It's like
they're not gonna be embarrassed that they knew you, right? That's not how it's gonna work.
right, right, but you'd be embarrassed if you assumed they knew who you were and they didn't.
Yeah,
That was my mistake, and that's one of those career lessons I will never forget.
yeah.
Don't assume they know anything,
That's
and
it.
if they do and they're like, "Hey, you know what? We can skip the videos. I already know
Right.
you can produce videos." Like, "Okay, great. Let's move on. Let's go
Move
to
on.
the next question."
But
So
have enough in the chamber, right? Have enough in the chamber if they're gonna
exactly.
skip through it, like, you're gonna have to now talk for that long, right?
Yeah. So
So,
it's
yeah.
when I said, "Know your experience frontward and backward," make sure they know you some of your experience too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you bringing proof, right, is just more proof. It's
Yeah.
here's these videos, here's this, here's that, here's like my favorite one that I think a lot of people miss is the store. Like build something and put it on the store, right? That's awesome to show off. Like and you don't have to write anything complex. I'm telling you, I wrote a parallax scrolling widget at one point, and for some reason, people thought it was the bee's knees. I'm like, guys, this was like 10 minutes worth of JavaScript experience. Like it didn't take that. Like it
Which
literally takes the front page of all the service portals and lets it like scroll a little bit. That's it. That's all it does.
and you probably got the code from Stack Overflow anyway.
Absolutely. 100% stole that code, which is why I put it on share for $0. Like I knew. But it's good experience and you never know. You never know who's watching. You never know who's looking at it. Now,
Jay
with that,
said some folks just interview better than others,
oh,
and it's a learned skill.
it
You know,
is.
some
It
people
is.
some people, you know, clean their house better than others. You can learn. It's not something that you cannot do. You may interviewing is an artificial reality.
Right.
Okay. And if you need to step into that and play that game to get that job.
Yeah.
So it's like people say, well, why can't I be my authentic self? Because that's what they're telling me to be at work. Great.
Well,
after you get the job, let them know who you really are, and let your hair down and, wear the t-shirts if they let you wear the t-shirts.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
But
Yeah.
to get the job, you need to play by those job interview rules.
Mm-hmm. Totally agreed. Totally agreed. It's and I don't know. You make content, Chuck, right? There's a face that you put out there that it's hey, this is what I do. Hi, I'm Mark Scott. This live stream it's the same thing, right? You're not gonna get Instagram followers by being like, hi. Right, like it and being flat and not being
unless that's your shtick.
I guess. You better follow it up.
Welcome to the dull, boring developer show.
Yeah, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. Yeah, this is what I'm going to name the chapter. Chuck turns it into the boring developer show. But yeah, it's not a lie. It's just it's you, right? Like the same thing. Like I don't go tell my manager that I'm off having beers and hanging out with friends and eating too much barbecue and feeling sick, because Monday morning I show up and I'm at work and I'm professional, right? That's what it is. It's just a different version of yourself. It's a more professional version of yourself. But I can attest to this. If you're interviewing and you're nervous, you have to practice. You have to practice. You have to go.
Yes.
You have to go find somebody and you have to go talk. And I'm telling you, go talk about anything for 20 minutes. Go talk about anything for 20 minutes. It's a difficult thing to do. It's incredibly difficult. And that's what interviewing is.
But you will be more comfortable when you get to that situation.
100%. And you're going to
rehearsal. It makes you more comfortable at any kind of presentation. And this is a performance. This is a presentation. You are presenting yourself.
Exactly. And you're never going to get past that fear if you've not done it. Right. And it's terrible. I know I've been there. It makes me feel awkward, right? When I'm telling my wife, I'm like, oh yeah, in this, and playing that character, and you think that people think you're weird. It's like, sure they do. And guess what? When you go to the interview and you're actually your authentic, like professional self, like you're not going to feel as weird. It's going to be awesome. Like you're going to be warmed up. You're going to be ready to go. I don't know if you do this, Chuck, but I before I get on the stream or do an interview or do a presentation, like I go watch other people that have done I go watch other presentations. I go kind of like, if I'm trying to be funny, I go watch like Craig Ferguson. I love Craig Ferguson. Like I go listen to videos I've watched 1,000 times of him that make me laugh, and kind of, the green room experience. Get yourself warmed up, get yourself feeling good about yourself. Go watch a video that makes you laugh about puppies or whatever it is that gets the serotonin flowing, right? 10 minutes before you get on that presentation, you're already going to be in there. The momentum's going to be going. You're already going to be happy and jolly and talkative and all that stuff that you need to be. So
it's the same thing. Like any other performance. Somebody told me that before an interview, they would, go through Eye of the Tiger in their head or something.
Right.
Somebody get amped up, get the energy up, because I will take energy over skill. If there are two candidates and they're all things being equal, which they never are, and one's got a little more energy and one's got a little more skill, I will take the energy person, because it just, why? Because that energy will generally translate into a lot more momentum to get more skill.
Well, it translates to the team. It translates to other teams. Like, I honestly feel like I was hired on by my manager, Catherine Wega, who's awesome. She hired me on because I was just like this vibrating, like intensity, like weird guy. Like, I don't know. I had fun, and I had fun in my interview. And
Jace is knocking on the door. You want to let him in?
Hey, Jace.
Hey, guys.
No.
EOS webcam utility.
It's totally all right. We can just go without him for a minute. I don't know how to pop him up though.
We can still hear him.
Yeah, you can still hear me. It's just there. I don't know. I'm gonna have to fix that.
I was gonna say about that jitters thing. I totally think it's important to try to get an interview at a bunch of, if you can, try to line up a couple interviews.
Yeah.
especially a few that it wouldn't be the world-ending thing if like it didn't go well, and do those first.
Yep. No, you have to get the bad one. You're gonna suck. I love this. This is my favorite saying. You're gonna suck. Suck enough until you stop. like you'll eventually get better, and it's gonna be much much easier, and then you won't be as nervous about it, and that just keeps rolling. That momentum keeps going where you're like, I feel better about this. I did a better job. Like, it must not have been, it was a team fit issue. It was a whatever issue. It doesn't really matter. I mean, I'm trying to roll it back to the worst experience, right? I actually, in one of my interviews, the interviewer tore up my resume right in front of me. He was like, this is embarrassing, because I only had one job worth of experience, right? I kept it to one page. It was very short. And it was kind of a joke, because we just clicked. We clicked really right away, and he knew that he wasn't going to offend me by doing that. He tore it up right in front of me. And Chuck, to your point, years later, we still talk about it. Like, oh yeah, that terrible resume you gave me. Oh yeah, you did, and you tore up a resume in front of me. Like, I love telling that story. It was who would later become the president of our company. I would tell like new people, I'd be like, yeah, he tore up my resume in front of me. He's mean. Like, and freak people out. I'd freak them out. It was funny. It was good though. It was good. It was a good experience. All right. So we're over the halfway mark. I'm thinking about opening this up. So I'm going to push the button, and then I'm going to put the banner on. Well, I should put the banner on, and then I'll push the button.
Ooh, I wonder if some of the folks from YouTube or LinkedIn will pop on in.
Yeah, let's have them pop on in. So I'm going to hit the open room. Website is open. If you would like to join the stream, PhxDev.me/show, and it will take you to the right. We'll forward you off automatically to the stream. Or if you ever want to watch the stream or know where the stream is, you can go PhxDev/show. And if I'm not live, it will show you the stream, or the next stream, where you can schedule and hit the like button. If you're on YouTube, smash that like button. I feel so weird saying that. I hate saying that.
I'm smashing it right now.
Everyone's smashing it. Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so last one that I wanted to go over while we get some people in the room here is the follow-up. We had talked about the follow-up a little bit. Chuck, what would you say? I don't know.
We skipped over a whole lot of stuff in the interviewing. Yeah. I'm going to give a quick plug for one of the most important tools that I ever got about interviewing, and I highly recommend it. I have a very cursory relationship with these people. That's over at manager-tools.com. They have a series of podcasts that's a licensed product, but it's free for the annual license if you have a personal license. So, but it's like the best $150 you will ever spend on your career.
Oh, okay.
It takes you everything from the preparation, a lot of stuff that we said here, right into the closer. Did you know there's a closer for an interview?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's like one of the most effective things that most people miss. And I've listened to it a couple of times, even though I haven't interviewed more than a couple of times since it came out. But it's very, very procedural. They make it actionable. It's like, oh, I could do that, and I can do that, and all I got to do is do this to do that. So a lot of good stuff. Manager-tools.com. It's like one of the products under the product menu. Look for interview series.
Yeah, if you're watching this on the replay, I'll have a link down below.
Awesomeness.
Throw it in the video.
Okay. So what did you wanted to cover? Follow-up?
Let's not skip. If you let's keep trucking. Like, let's keep going. So I don't know.
Where do you want to go next?
Like we skipped. I'm like, I don't know.
Well, there's about 6 weeks worth of content in there that
oh man, yeah, I know. I'm trying to pick things out as they come out of my brain. Yeah. This show has no structure.
But as a follow-up, handwritten thank you notes. You should be getting an email address or something from everybody. It's not that hard. If you can't find their address, you send it to the corporate headquarters. And handwritten thank you notes. Hardly anyone does it. It will make you stand out. And that's what you want, right? You want people to remember you. Even if you didn't get an offer, even if you didn't get the position, still send a handwritten thank you note. You
never know when that person's going to work with you in another place.
Yeah. Absolutely. They could be a peer. You could be their boss. You never know what life is going to throw you down the
They
road.
could be your boss's boss.
Right. I honestly was stunned the first time I got one of these because I had just learned this trick maybe 2 years before.
Yeah.
And one of the candidates that I interviewed sent a handwritten. I said, "Did you get coached on any of these?" He goes, "No, I just thought it was a great idea." I'm like, it
Right.
was brilliant. He eventually
Oops.
got the job. He worked for a ServiceNow partner, at least last I heard he did. So it was a good career starter for him. I hired him. This was like entry-level help desk thing.
Mhm.
And he used to work at I think it was a mechanic's garage or something. I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
this is brilliant. That you just naturally know this stuff.
Right.
And most of us need to be taught it.
Oh, absolutely.
I used to have a fun little gimmick that I did with mine. I bought a pack of like phony $1 million bills, and I would put in the note. I would say, "Hey, thanks $1 million for the interview. Thanks." Yeah, I even sent one to Fred Letty one time shortly
Yeah.
after I met him at Knowledge 10. And I said, "Hey, Fred, thanks $1 million. It was great meeting you and your wife and hanging out at the wineskin and blah, 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 blah. I enjoyed the talk about, potentially writing a dummies book."
Specifics. Mhm.
Yeah. And you know, didn't know what life had in store for me, but about 6 weeks later, I was working for ServiceNow,
Right.
and I was in the San Diego office. Fred walks by, he goes, "Hey, my wife tried spending that $1 million bill you gave me." Like, he remembered. He
Oh, yeah.
remembered. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what it's supposed to do. So, make it your own. Have some fun with it, but be sincere. And, those how much to think it's cost? Not much.
Yeah.
You
No,
know,
come on. And the whole the whole thing I loved about that is, he probably stuck it on a desk or a I don't know, somewhere. Like he was like, "This is great," right? And he didn't throw it away, right? So
Mhm.
your name was probably sitting, or even if he did, he stuck it. It was in his brain, right? And he linked you with that, and later on, so
He wasn't even
100%.
involved with my hiring process. I
Right.
mean, I'm sure tertiary he was like,
Right.
"Hey, we need another guy to do this stuff." Way down the food chain. I think at one point I was like third level to Fred. Now it's like
Wow.
7, maybe 8 from between me and Bill McDermott. Yeah, we've grown vertically as a
Oh
company.
yeah. No, it's so funny is that because I think I'm at 7 from Bill is now 2, and I think I was like 4 at one point. It was ridiculous. I'm like, I should not be this close in the org to Bill McDermott. Like, no, no, no,
Yeah, I think
no.
it was me, the VP of professional services, then one other guy, then Fred. Because Fred was the CEO back then.
Right, right.
And I was like, "Well, that's kinda cool," because I didn't have that at my last company. I was about 5 or 6 levels down.
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's kind of fun. Yeah, so now if you'd mentioned following up, you could I think it feels kinda cheap to send an email
Yeah.
or a
Yeah. It's like,
LinkedIn message or something like that. So, that just feels too easy, and you don't wanna be easy, you wanna be effective.
yeah. It's like breaking up over text message there. It's not,
Wow.
yeah.
Is that voice of experience?
I'm married, Chuck. I'm married. That experience is long gone, my friend.
We didn't even have texting when I was dating. Although
Yeah,
I
But
did
you had
ask for
telegrams.
I did
and
ask
those
for
are alive and kicking.
my then girlfriend. Yeah, Pony
Telegram.
Express. Breaking up by Pony Express. We
Hey, but that might be a really great way to send a thank you note. It's actually like it's kind of expensive. It's like $30.
But it doesn't, other than the stamp on the letter, right? It's not like they're gonna know. Like, I think you should send a singing telegram as
No,
like,
like
"Thank you for the interview." Like, come on.
I have
I'm
no
breaking
idea.
up with you. I'm breaking
I
up
just
with
heard
you.
the
Here's the
telegrams are
things I
still a
don't like
thing
you
and
that
they
you do.
can't go away because of like how they work. So I don't know. 99% invisible. Go check it out. They talk about it.
She
there.
couldn't read Morse code. Am I at fault for that?
This is getting
Where were we? We're still on interviews.
Yeah,
right?
we're on interviewing, right? We were talking about that. So Carlita asks a really awesome question. What are some good questions for an interviewee to ask? And I think I honestly think that's the most
Oh,
important. That's the most important because you're going to get a good feel for a company. You're going to get a good feel if you're interviewing with a hiring manager, right? You're going to get a good feel for how they, interact with people. It's like you say, Chuck. It's a game, right? We're playing a game. It's kind of this like feeling each other out kind of a thing. I love interviewing with the hiring manager because I like to ask tough questions, right? It's like, hey, how do you have hard conversations with your employees? Like, what do you do? What's the process? Like, how do you like to, what's the team dynamic like? Are you spread across the entire US? Are you in one spot? Are you, what's your method of communication? Is it Teams? Is it email? Is it, there's tons of things that you can ask that kind of give you a good
yeah.
read on
Yeah.
what your day-to-day life is going to be like working for
Don't
this
be
person.
surprised if they don't ask you what questions do you have for me. The
And you
first interviews are generally, we're interviewing you. You're not interviewing me.
right,
We're interviewing you to see if
right,
you're a fit for this company. If there's a second interview or whatever, then there may be an opportunity
right,
for them to say, "Hey, do you have any questions for me?"
right.
And, it never hurts to say, "What are your priorities this year? What are you focused on? What
What's
are
the
the
roadmap look
key
like?
metrics that drive this
Mhm.
group?"
Yeah.
Because you wanna know, "What am I in for?"
How
Yeah,
many story points do you have in the backlog? I love asking that question because they're like, "What do you
yeah.
mean?" I'm like, if you don't know how many story points you have in the backlog, it's like that's all the stuff you need to be working on when all the stuff that you're doing now is done, right? Like I love hearing that because they're like, "Well, I'm not sure." It's like, well, then obviously you don't have a whole lot of roadmap. Like there's not a whole lot of runway here for
It
me to land.
And the questions need to be related to the role. If
Mhm.
you're applying as a developer, you don't say, "Has the supply chain issues been affecting you?"
Yeah,
Great
that
question, but not pertinent to this position.
yeah, we'll have fun discussing it, but it's not some, if you're going, I think for an admin position, a dev position, I mean anything that you would do on a daily basis, turn it around and ask it as a question, right? It's like how does your team check in code? How does your team like things like that? It opens up the door for a lot of different
Yeah.
conversations, and especially like maybe you'll find out like, oh well, I'm not, I'm a manager, I'm not technical. That's fine. That's totally fine. You learn that very quickly if you start asking technical questions. Now you've got to shift because you can't ask technical questions to a non-technical manager. And
Yep.
I don't know if that
I
hierarchy
mean,
Yeah.
even exists anymore, but
earlier, Chuck, you had said that you're trying to find the reasons to say no to a candidate,
Mhm.
because you want to hire the right person. But as an interviewer, you should try to find reasons to say no to the company. Like you might love it, but like there
Oh,
could be
right,
problems
right.
there, and you want to make sure you avoid them. The worst thing is to accept a job someplace and then find out it's something
Well,
completely
the
different than you thought.
purpose of the interview is to get an offer. You don't have any decision to make until you've got that offer. So, yeah, if you've got the offer, then you can go back and ask additional questions.
yeah.
But it's totally it's not I don't wanna get my
Too
negatives
many negatives.
duplicated here. Um, if you don't have the chance to do that interrogation and find out more about the company, the culture, the processes they use to promote their code, whatever, how much things suck, uh, until you get the offer, that's fine. That's fine. The ball is squarely in your court once you get the offer. It goes, "Okay, here's how much we're willing to give you." You don't have to say yes. As tempting as that is,
Mhm.
especially if you've been interviewing for, 2 months going, "This is my 12th interview. It's the first offer I got." It might not be the right company for you. One thing I like to do is hopefully you've got a network built up and you
Right.
can ask some of the colleagues who have either left the company. That's very telling. Why did
Mhm.
they leave? What did they like? What didn't they like? I've done that for with different teams in ServiceNow.
You've done it
Yeah,
for me.
I said, "Hey, what you're joining this team. What do you like? What don't you like? You're joining this company. What works? What doesn't work?" Either existing employees,
Mhm.
that's one viewpoint.
Yep.
Former employees, that's another viewpoint.
Different.
And
Oh, yeah.
and that's how you can do your research and possibly get some information that that
Mhm.
hiring manager or that HR person is not going to
Not
tell
gonna
you,
say. Yep.
because
Yeah.
they're trying to make a bright picture of this also.
Right.
When I went from technical consultant to, um, I forgot what it was. Our expert services team. It might have still been a technical consultant, but it was a shift in positions, shift in teams. 2 other people. This is only like a team of 5, and 2 of them left like right before I joined. That opened up the opportunity for me to do what I did in the future.
Sure.
And I asked them. I asked a couple of people that were on the team. I said, "How long you been on the team? What do you like? Now, what about, player A and player B that just left?
Right.
What's up with that?" And, you find out a little bit of the story. Oh, player A wanted to be the manager and he didn't get that. So he decided he's going to strike out on his own. Okay. Perfectly valid reason for leaving a company.
Yeah.
If it was, so you can find out a lot by, shaking the bushes, so to speak, without those direct questions in the interview either.
Absolutely. I mean, and my focus would be trying to find out as much as you possibly can about that position, right? And that company, because this is your opportunity to learn without the risk of getting involved. And that's an issue, right? Like if you're involved, that's an issue. If you're there, if you're already an employee, that's an issue. If you're ready to leave, that's an issue, right? You can't be involved. You have to make this decision completely independently. And you're not in that day-to-day like understanding of what this company is. And it's very, very hard to get a good read on that, right? Like from just,
and sometimes you never will. You won't know until you're in the driver's seat.
Yeah, exactly. And it's I don't know. I've always felt like when I'm interviewing, it's 2 ways, right? I don't know if it's just a point in my career where eventually I just stopped caring, right? But it's 2 ways where I had to kind of just like, hey, you're trying to get a feel on me. I'm trying to get a feel on you, right? And you can ask these tough questions. I encourage everyone to ask as tough a question as you think you need to, because you're not going to be able to ask that once you're an employee. Like you're already in it. Like it's
well, tough questions that are within bounds.
Within bounds. No, I'm not saying go off.
If there's a controversial, outstanding lawsuit against the company, don't poke that tiger.
Yeah, like don't bring that up. Like don't talk about that stuff. Like that's fine. You're trying to get a job, right? So don't be a jerk. Like don't talk about things that might make you feel like a jerk or make someone else feel like a jerk. Like you just got to be present in that, and that's fine.
Right.
I don't know. There's such a tightrope about what you want to ask.
If the interviewer asks you, you should be ready with some poignant questions.
Yes.
Basically do your homework.
Yeah.
If they don't ask, great. You were prepared. Like you said, you had it, but didn't need it.
And that's fine. But I do think if someone gives you an opportunity to ask questions, you do need to have a pointed question. Like don't lob softballs, because that sends a message as well, right? That may make you seem inexperienced. It may make you seem like you just aren't going to say no, right? There's minefields that you're going into as well, just as much as you're trying to lay traps for them. They're laying traps for you, right? And it's this psychological kind of back and forth that you've got to figure out the balance. To your point, within reason. But I do think it's easy to come up with some questions, and you can make questions that seem not pointed, that are very pointed. One of my favorites is, and I said this before, right? How do you deploy code to production, right? If they're like, well, I don't know, we just push the update sets up. I don't know, what are you talking about, right? Like, it's like
they just told you volumes with that one line.
Yeah, exactly. Like your answer to that question is incredibly pointed. Like I can read you like a book if you tell me how you push your code to production, because either you care about your developers' time and you want to automate that, and that's what you're saying. We're on the roadmap to automate. DevOps is a huge process that we're trying to get to, etc. Or you go, how do you spell that DevOps thing? I don't know what that is. And you're like, the danger, Will Robinson. Like, don't do that, because I guarantee you'll be up at 2:00 in the morning debugging something.
One of my favorite questions for execs, it doesn't necessarily have to be an executive that's interviewing you, but is ask them, what keeps you up at night?
Yeah.
What's your number one priority that's on your mind right now?
Yeah. Well, and that demonstrates that emotional intelligence too, right? Of like, hey, I want to help remove that from your plate.
Yep.
And at the same time, like we're you and I are going to go to your boss, because my job is to make my boss look good. My boss's job is to make me look good, right? Like we go show this off to everybody, or we write a paper about it, or we do whatever you got to do to make the accolades, right? But you share that with that person. I mean, that's eventually once you got the job, right? But
if you're really lucky, they tell you something, you go, hey, I got some ideas about that.
Yeah.
And
No,
then if they're interested, they dig in. Otherwise, if they're not, they just
well, and
don't offer more than you have to.
and it's like that. It's that scene from The Office with Will Arnett, right? Where it's like, well, I'm not going to give you the whole idea. Like, I'm just going to give you 1 point. I'll give you 0.1 of third. Like, no. Like, no one's trying to steal your ideas in an interview. No one's in. I mean, maybe they are. Maybe they are, but they're definitely not going to be actionable. Like, if in 30 minutes I can't tell you my entire master plan, it's not going to happen. Like, so it give people the benefit of the doubt, give them the points, talk about it in depth, and be open and honest. Like, talk about things. If they say something makes them scared, talk about something that made you scared in another job. Like, I had a similar experience with that. It's like, now I'm showing you I can handle that kind of stuff, right? It's all that play. It's that volley back and forth. How they're going to say a question and you're going to go, oh, I know what you're trying to get to at that, and I'm going to say a question and they might, it's a stupid game, but you got to learn to play it. So
nobody else wanted to jump into the waiting room.
I mean, and I got so nervous. I was like, did my API request not work? And so I checked it real fast, and it seems
Jace got it.
Well, Jace,
I have a special link with Mark Scott.
Yeah, Jace is a team member on this, so he helps co-stream a lot of stuff. So
gotcha.
Yeah, but I had that idea where I was like, I gave Chuck the direct link, I gave Jace the direct link. I'm like, is it not open? I'm like, no, you guys are just a bunch of cowards.
So you should just give us all the non-direct link anymore, Mark. Then
maybe no one's interviewing right now.
Oh, I know tons of people that are interviewing, and in fact, I know someone that is in a very similar position to what you had described earlier about, good, bad. Like, oh no, what do I do now? And I've been trying to. I'm like, go get feedback. Go, it's tough. It's tough. I mean, it's tough out there. But the good news is you're definitely in a seller's market here, right? There's positions. I would say, within reason, right? Wear a tie, show up early, give your best, do everything you're supposed to. But I would also say don't put up with anything, because there's a lot of positions right now. Like, if someone seems to be giving you the runaround, and like, there's a lot of positions that you can go and fill. You don't need to go do 6 panel interviews. Like, it's not.
If I walked into a panel interview, I'd walk out.
Yeah.
I firmly do not believe they are effective. You don't get the right information, and it's unfair to the interviewee.
It's trial.
I will not do a panel interview. I'm that strong against it.
Yeah.
The other thing that I will not put up with is these goofy questions that really don't have anything to do with the job. The whole golf balls filling a bus thing, that's a classic one.
How many mirrors are there? Like,
I know what they're after. They're after, can you be an analytical thinker and break this problem down?
Mm-hmm.
And if my resume and my experience don't speak to that, I don't want to put up with your shenanigans.
Well, beyond that, if you are so uncreative that you want to test my creativity by giving me a blank question like that from some like website or book from somewhere, like, no, come on, man, like, that's not cool. Like, you suck, I don't, and you're trying to test me? Like, that's not cool.
I'd lob back at them if they sprung one of those on me. I say, all right, I'm going to put on my analyst hat here for a moment. Help me understand what job description requirement this pertains to. How does this fit into the job that you perceive me doing?
Right.
Okay. I want to know. I honestly do, because I'm not making the connection here. Maybe it's my ignorance. Maybe it's you copied it from Google. I don't know.
Right.
What do you guys think of those, like, sort of whiteboard coding sessions that some places do?
I think,
where they propose a problem, they ask you to solve it in, like, not real code on a whiteboard, or just even talk through how you might solve this specific scenario. Like,
I don't know.
To take it one step further, there's other places that send home like a take-home assignment.
Sorry.
I don't know. I have no idea.
I have asked people to do assignments before. Because if I don't know what we're interviewing for somebody who makes content, if I don't know what their content skills look like, I'd say, hey, Jace, I want you to make a 5-minute video telling somebody about tables, fields, and forms. Okay.
Sure.
Just this is somebody who's an experienced developer, new to the platform, and you're telling them how to make a table in ServiceNow. Have that to me by Friday.
Right.
And you'd go off and do that. And, maybe it's demo, maybe it's talking head, maybe it's PowerPoint. I don't know. It's up to you. Show me
Right.
that you can do this job. That's a little snippet of the insight that I want.
Mhm.
That's a homework assignment that I would expect. When I was interviewing for the help desk, I had this framework of how people should answer the calls. And it was based on, what was it? It was like 33 points to success or getting to something. I forgot. It had a catchy title, but I don't remember. But it was things like, uh, do you repeat back the numbers that the caller gave you?
Right.
So I would have this scenario and I would have a little script and I would say, hey, hi, I'm having a problem with my computer. And I would see how the dialogue goes and then I would score them. Like, okay, I gave them a reference number. Did they repeat back the reference number? Okay.
Wow.
It was that detailed. So you have these little milestones that you're looking for. So scenario-based stuff isn't bad. I wouldn't sit down and, make somebody script something.
No,
If they've shown the aptitude to learn a new language quickly, well, hell, we have to do that every 2 or 3 years ourselves. I didn't know Angular JS before Service Portal came out. It's like, I sure as hell didn't know Jelly before I got on ServiceNow. So it's like, show me you can learn quickly and apply that, and show me you can solve problems.
Right.
And again, we're talking developer role here, but
Oh yeah.
if I was looking for a marketing manager, it'd be a totally different set of questions. But the idea, maybe we should get into how an interviewer should prepare.
Oh yeah, we could do a whole episode on just
Yeah.
I literally wrote a post of questions just so I wouldn't have to think about the questions to look up to find them.
It's not that hard if you know what you're looking for. It starts with that job description.
Mhm.
What skills am I looking for, and what questions can I ask to understand if the person has those skills? And put those into a behavioral style question. Tell me about a time when, give me an example of, and then you dive in deeper if you need to. It's like, oh, really? What happened when it didn't work? That kind of thing.
Right. And you can pair technical with behavioral questions. And this is what I like to say. One of my favorite interview questions, whoever's taking notes, right, is what do you like about script includes? Tell me about script includes. Just tell me about them. Just talk to me about script includes for 5 minutes, right? And it's like you learn a lot about people, about like, okay, tell me about Flow Designer, Jace. He doesn't like Flow Designer. He doesn't use it.
I can talk about it. It's fine. It's a great
you can talk about it in an interview, right? So if I told Jace, if I'm like, Jace, pull 10 minutes of Flow Designer out of your butt, right? He could do that because he has a cursory understanding of the technology, right?
Yeah.
He can get through it. He doesn't use it on a day-to-day basis. It's the perfect, like, keep it high level, don't go into detail, like, et cetera, right?
But if somebody asks me to tell you the very finite differences between legacy workflow and Flow Designer, oh, I'm sure I would flub up on it.
Oh yeah,
because there's things in Flow Designer I don't know.
I've done one interview where I've gotten to this one question, like, and I've ran out of questions. Like the guy, this guy was phenomenal. I really liked him. And my one interview question that I'm like, this is a really, like, if you tell me you're an expert on the platform, like, this is the interview question that I go to the bag with. And it's mean. It's a mean question. And it's UI actions can be both client side and server side. How is that possible? And people are like, there's so many words in that sentence where they're like, wait a minute. Wait. Like,
if they didn't know that, it means they haven't used them that way before.
First of all, but second of all, it's like, you haven't been on SN Guru for like, I can see the post on SN Guru that is that whole explanation.
And that would be a great question to ask these people coming out of like these boot camps and these skill bridges.
It's a terrible question.
No. Not ask that. Sorry, I should have phrased it differently. It might be a great question to ask them where, if they know what SNC Guru is. Because I bet that it's falling out of people's purview. It is. I mean, it doesn't get new content. Nobody's Like, I don't get me wrong, like that's where all my stuff came from in the very beginning.
Mark Stanger. Hey, wake up. He's busy. But yeah, it's things like that. Like that's my trip up question, right? So as an interviewer, I'm not trying to be mean. That's not, and I say it's me. I preface it. I preface it by saying this is a really mean question, and it really is, in my opinion. But it's a rough question. If you're watching this video on demand, and it's because you know that I'm about to be, my dog is sitting here.
Puppy.
Why? He comes in from the one side and goes in the other. My bad. Sorry. If you're getting to this question for me, it's because either one, I've run out of questions and you've answered everything correctly, or two, you claim to be like this amazing, like I wouldn't, if I didn't know this question because I had it memorized in my head, I wouldn't be able to answer this kind of a question. Like it's an unfair question, and I do it on purpose because if you're going to say this is like the best thing ever and you think, you've known everything and you've touched everything in the platform, I'm a full stack ServiceNow developer. I'm like, well, then you know the question, you know the answer to that question. Like I don't like that term full stack. I hate it because I'm like, you can't know everything. So you better learn, UI actions. It's like everyone needs one. So you better know what this is. And that's my whole, like, you can't be a full stack developer. You're just never.
You asked how it's possible. You just check the box that says client. It's done.
If we get to the point, in the interview where I've asked that question and that's your answer, I'm just gonna rage quit. It's just like, no, man, I'm good. Like,
I'm just gonna see if I can push Mark's buttons.
You missed the assignment. Like
I gotta find a position so I can interview with Mark Scott just to see him do it.
No, I'm serious. So first of all, here's where my content has not proliferated. Where I'm like, I this is probably the third or fourth time I think I've talked to you about this question, Chuck. Like I talk about this question all the time. Someone better be taking notes on this stream, because if they answer all of those questions correctly and then they get to that one and they know this one and they go, oh, I've seen this one in your video, I'm gonna like hire that person, like hire them right away. They watch my content, hire them.
There's only 4 people in this world that
according to StreamYard, there's only 2 on the stream, so I don't know who the other 2 are, Chuck. I don't know who they are.
I got a number 11 on the LinkedIn page.
LinkedIn. Yeah, I don't think it works that well for the LinkedIn.
I got 2 on YouTube. Yeah, I know Facebook works. If you on StreamYard, if you hover over the number, it'll show you the breakdown of where they're watching.
That's amazing. I didn't know that. That's cool. Okay. Well, and because now we're learning new things, and Bar's putting JavaScript in the chat. You guys like. Jace just like left. He's like, I'm out.
Current dot update before business rule. I'm out of here. Jace like, imploded.
No. It's there's places that everybody has, but closing this out, right? I think there's places in the platform where everyone has that sticky question, right? Just know it. Just get a general understanding. And if you get someone that asks a question like that and you don't know the answer, say it. Say you don't know the answer. I'm not familiar with that. I'll have to. I've
never had the experience before.
Exactly.
It's better than lying about it and getting caught.
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%.
I'd rather be honest, because you may be put in a situation with a customer or internal or external customer where you're put into a situation where you have to say, I don't know. And I want to see how well you say, I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. We have a new guest on the stream. I'm going to add this person's. Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. I'm sorry. Now car is that what we're good? Are we good with car?
Car is great. That's what I put in.
All right. And that's what I'm going to call you.
Carlene Carter. It's just short.
I thought it was short for Carcharodon, which is the megala shark from the the dinosaur era.
Yes, I am a shark. No,
I just feel weird about saying people's name on the internet. I'm like,
well, okay. So you could always go with my real first name, which is Carlene.
Carlene, yeah. I just, you didn't put it in the box, and so I got a little weird about it, but that's okay.
It's like Eileen with a car. I'm sorry.
Yes, or Jolene with a car.
Yeah, I love that.
Where are we going with this?
I don't know. Carlene, I'm glad that you're on the stream. Anything specific you wanted to add?
Caller 3, what's on your mind?
Yeah. So I think we've been talking, or I feel like I'm part of your conversation so far.
You are.
We've been talking about, interviewers asking the right questions. And I think one of the really important things is to make sure that the people that you're interview, or the people that you put in the interviewer seat, have skin in the game, that they really care about that position being filled. Because I think a lot of times it's just kind of this round robin, like we've got to do this interview panel, not a panel, but like a series of interviews. Yeah. And who's available? Who can we just bring in to ask the questions that we want to ask?
No.
So you can kind of tell that I think that's probably where some of the Google style interview questions probably come from. Absolutely. And I don't care whether this position gets filled or not. I just have to give a score.
And it's important to understand that different people are there for different reasons. This person may be looking to find out, is this a strategic thinker, for example? And they're not going to be asking technical questions.
Right.
Whereas, a potential teammate of that interviewee is going to be asking, a different level of questions. So you may, as an interviewee, you may be getting, like, wow, those were completely all over the place. Well, it's because those people's positions are probably completely all over the place, and they're looking for different attributes for that position.
Or they're only asking about what they're feeling pain about at that moment.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah.
and to bring it full circle, right? That is that exact scenario. That exact scenario is why you need a one-page resume, right? Because I call it the bus, right? People just pull up the bus and they go, who can interview today? Like, who's free? Who can get on this panel, right? And if you're going to try to combat some of that at all, you can't have a 10-page resume. Like, no one, the guy that just got your meeting invite to interview you 5 minutes ago is not going to go through your 10-page resume.
Speaking of 10-page resumes, I did find out that is an acceptable format for the government. My son-in-law is applying he tried the one-page thing and it didn't work. They said, no, we want your detailed work history, like back to when you were 10 years old painting a fence for $1 an hour. That's what the government wants. And as soon as he did that, he got his government job. So yes, there are still crazy government processes out there.
Yeah.
As much as we're trying to fix them with ServiceNow.
It just, come on. Of course, the U.S. government's like, no, I need it in long form.
Yep.
The last stream we did was tax day. I didn't even realize I should have brought it up and caused people anxiety, and I didn't. But the IRS kicked back my tax to say my wife had already filed. I'm like, come on, guys. Could we put this process in ServiceNow? It'd be so much easier.
That right there is the occupational hazard of working with this platform. Everything's an opportunity. I can fix this if you let me.
This would be so not terrible if I could just move it over here.
Why are you handing me a clipboard at the doctor's office? I should have been filling this out on a tablet before I even got here.
So the whole reason I thought of that is because their solution to I'm having a problem. I couldn't file the taxes so their solution is just mail it in. I'm like, whose failure point goes, hey, just mail it to us. That'll be so much easier. Just mail it. I'm like, oh man. Oh well, but yeah, cool.
Other questions, comments,
questions? Anybody know?
No, I don't have. I'm just happy to be
awesome. We're happy to have you on,
hanging out.
Yeah, I usually cut this off at about 1 hour. We went one and a half almost now, so this is great.
Oh. I missed the first part of it, but
that's okay.
We started on resumes. We were kind of having a recap of last week's resume show.
Yeah, well, and again, there's no format to this show. Nobody pays me to be here.
There's a guiding direction.
There's a loose affiliation with an idea. That's it. That's as far as I've gone. Is let's do resumes. Oh, next week.
Now we're talking refrigerators. Wow.
Come on. I swear one day I'll be fixing my car and I'll be like, okay, does anybody know how to fix the rear blower in a 2014 Dodge Caravan? Come on stream. Let me know. I'll take your call. No, next week I want to do, and Jason's going to do this in his new show, imposter syndrome. I think that's a awesome subject to tackle, right? How do you get over it? How do you feel it? What is it, right? Because I think a lot of people don't really understand what imposter syndrome is, and what are some tools like I use. I'm hoping to have other people on that give some of their tools, because just like a resume, it is incredibly personal, right? It's very much like what you feel and how you do it. So, yeah. Join us next week, same time, same bat channel, same bat time. Yeah. All right. So
Thanks,
let's go. We already kind of went around the stream, but Chuck, do you have anything you want? What are you selling that you'd like to pitch here?
You can find everything about me at chucktomasi.com. TOMASI. That's where you'll find the work stuff, the fun stuff, the books, the podcasts. If it's there, it's my hub of the internet.
Awesome. And Carlene, anything you want to pitch?
I'm not selling anything today.
No. Okay.
But if you want to find me, I'm Carlene Carter on LinkedIn, and I love talking about ServiceNow. And I think somebody said script includes earlier. Script includes make me very happy. Plus low code too.
I'm migrating towards flow designer actions.
I know, but I still love to
less
trace
code
through,
is better. Yeah.
I still love to trace through some of those script includes and figure out what's going on. I
remember shortly after I started, I think you and Jesse were just starting to work on Surf, like making it a thing.
Yes.
And
wow.
I think Jesse asked me, "What do you know about script includes?" At the time, I didn't. I mean, I was like, I never used them as a customer. It's like, I did an ITSM implementation. I didn't need to do a whole lot of custom script includes. But once I got a hold of them, I'm like, oh, yeah, this is the libraries I've been looking for.
Yeah. Yeah.
All the freedom and scary stuff and unsupportable code and inline.
It was that first taste of reusability.
Right, right.
Modularity.
Yes.
Yep. No.
As soon as I have to write something and I think I'm going to have to call it from somewhere else, which at this point I just assume I'm going to have to call it from somewhere else. All right, I'm going script include.
Mine is if I think I have to test it. I have an idea of what I want to do in code. I'll put it into a script include because then I have a unit testable thing, and then I'll immediately go and write the test script first to go. If I give it these inputs, do I get these outputs every time? Yep. Sunny day, rainy day. Let's beat this thing up. And then when I drop it into a business rule or I drop it into some other place, I know it's going to hold up because I tested that thing 7 ways from Sunday, and I should never have to think about it again. Unless, of course, I have to go change the inputs and outputs.
Right.
Yeah. Curse you, API modifications.
and then you'll hate yourself because I got to change it here and in the test and all the way. And it's like, man, I write crappy code. I should just not write unit tests for that.
Well, one way to avoid that is pass objects in and pass objects out. Then you don't have to worry. If the parameters change, it's like, yeah, okay, well, at least I got to just change the object. And then you say, but what if they don't pass that new active parameter inside the object? You go, assume it's true.
Yeah. No, God, we went way off topic. We were talking about returning script includes again. I'm like, yeah, I always return an object. Like very seldom do I just return a single value.
Sooner or later, we're going to talk about Boxcar Willie.
Is my resume. That's the object.
Yeah, there you go.
Nice hook.
Turning it.
I brought it all back around.
I love it. I appreciate it.
We used to have this game at work. It's like sooner or later the conversation will turn to Boxcar Willie. It always does.
Always does. There you go. That's yeah. I can't wait till employees in person. I'll just Boxcar Willie. People are like, what are you talking about? I'm like,
knowledge is coming up. That's in person.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Yeah, in-person knowledge.
It's been far too long, but it feels like a millennia, and it's only been 3 years.
I know. And you're jetting off to New York instead of driving up the road to Las Vegas.
Yeah, because I gotta get over to Sydney as well. No, Brad and Earl will be in Las Vegas and The Hague, so we sort of split the domestic and the international.
You'd think. I mean, Earl might be.
I don't mind going to Sydney because it'll help me get my American points back. That just finally my status expired at the end of March.
See, that's the whole reason I want to go to Knowledge, because I've got a Caesar's rewards card. I'm like, I need my points, man. I need my points. All right. Well, I'm going to close it out. I appreciate everybody.
Thanks, man.
Thank
been
you
fun.
for jumping on. Chuck,
Good seeing
thank
you again,
for being here.
Carlene.
Yeah, nice to see you too.
Awesome. I'm glad we could get together.
Now, do you play your new intro at the outro, or how do you do
have
this?
an outro. I only made an intro. And sorry, Chuck. I don't.
All right,
they don't
then,
pay me
then
to
we'll
do
wave
this.
and smile. Bye.
Yeah, we'll just wave and smile and awkwardly like turn it off, and I'll be like, "Hold on, I'm pushing the."
Is it done yet? Is it done yet?
Carlene's out before we have to do that business.
The
All
old,
right.
the old Naked Gun thing or Police Squad where they had to hold still.
Yeah.
While the camera was still rolling. The coffee's pouring out of the pot. Yeah, that whole thing.
Oh, I'm so glad you got it. All right. Thanks, everybody. This is great. I'll have an outro for next week, maybe.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.